Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is Joe Louis's boxing stance. Joe Louis made use of the traditional old school boxing stance, and this stance was both defensive and offensive at the same time. It offered the fighter built-in protection, good mobility, and good offensive capability. Today's modern boxing stance is a lot more square and even, which does provide for a greater punch output, but less protection. So the great Joe Louis actually always kept his head on the outside of his center line. He moved his head slightly over to his right, and this actually increased the distance between his head and his opponent's fists. Joe Louis would also lean his body slightly to his right. This was also part of the old school boxing stance. To the top left hand corner of your screen, you can see what is most likely the greatest fighter of all time, Sugar Ray Robinson, showing you a visual description and example of the old school boxing stance.
Few men who sought a second.
So this image makes it very easy for you to see the difference between the great Joe Louis's boxing stance and Lee Ramage's stance. Notice Ramage's head is directly on his center line, making him a much easier target than Joe Louis.
On the way up to becoming one of the greatest champions of all time.
Joe Louis's left hand was his most versatile weapon. He would target his opponent's head and body and thereby change the levels of his attack. His left hand was also his first line of defense because his opponents would be very cautious of that left hand when they were coming in with the attack. So when his opponents were attacking, they would have to be wary of his lead hand. Joe Louis fought behind his left shoulder, so this was his second line of defense. He would roll the right hand off his shoulder, and he would also tuck his chin behind his left shoulder when in need of added protection. So if you did get past his lead hand, you still had to get past his left shoulder. Finally, as has been previously outlined, Joe Louis fought with his head slightly out to his right. This increased the distance between his head and his opponent's fists. Now the greater distance means more time for Joe Louis to parry, block, slip, step back, or otherwise duck or evade the punch in some way. Okay, now we're going to talk about how Joe Louis made use of the jab. Joe Louis understood that good offense must have built-in defense, hence why when he would use his jab, he would lean down slightly and change levels, but he would also bring his right glove up to parry his opponent's jab or the counter jab. So we're going to take a look at a few examples of this. So you notice that as Joe Louis shoots his jab, he changes levels and brings his right hand out to parry his opponent's jab. This of course is a lot like how Gennady Golovkin shoots his jab today. Now notice that Lee Ramage's jab has gone sailing over the extended lead arm of Joe Louis. This is caused by both the change of levels, the slight change in head slots or head positioning, and of course Joe Louis bringing out his right hand to parry the opponent's jab as he shoots his jab. Excellent technique. Now we're going to talk about hooking, dropping, and hooking. My trainer would always tell me that one of the best ways to successfully land double or even triple hooks was to hook, drop, and hook. We are going to take a look at Joe Louis doing exactly this. Hooking, changing levels, and then hooking again is one of the best skills a boxer can have. So here you see the great Joe Louis catch Lee Ramage's left hook and counter with a left hook of his own. As I've said previously, one of the best counters for the left hook is the left hook. But it is what Joe Louis does after this hook that is the key and crucial thing that we need to focus on. And that is, of course, changing levels after the hook. And so you can see Joe Louis drops and changes levels after he hooks. Changing levels like this can set up a hook to the body or a hook upstairs. You can even set up a right hand, and this is all done while protecting you from your opponent's counter hook as well. Beautiful technique. And here you see Joe Louis hook and land a second left hook as he rises from the crouch position. Hooking, dropping, and hooking, like I said previously, is a great skill to have. You can also hook, slip, and then hook, hook, slip, and shoot the right hand. It's good to vary your offense. Now we're going to talk about Joe Louis's punch selection. Joe Louis had a great punch selection, and we're going to take a look at how he utilized both hands during his fights. Joe Louis had specific uses for each hand and was highly successful because of the way he utilized both hands and had different tasks for each one. So as I said previously, Joe Louis's lead hand was his most versatile weapon. He would target the head and the body with jabs and left hooks. He would also use his lead hand to find his punching range and measure his opponent, and this was done in order to maintain proper fighting distance. Beautiful from Joe Louis. Secondly, Joe Louis mainly used his right hand to actually break his opponents down to the body. When he saw clear openings to land the right hand to the head, he would obviously take those opportunities. But Joe Louis understood that the body is a much larger target than the head and is of course much less mobile. So watch closely as Joe Louis is going to slip this jab and shoot the right hand down to the body. And then he's going to slip a second jab and come with the right hand again with just misses. So we're going to take a look at this again. See, he slips the jab, shoots the right hand to the body, which is a much larger target than the head, slips another jab and aims for the body once again with the right hand.
There's that right hand. Down goes Ramage. He's flat on his back.
So let's take a look at what happens to get this knockdown. So as you can see, Ramage attempts to slip out to his left to get off of the ropes. Joe Louis catches him with the right hand to the body. Once again, Joe Louis loved to shoot the right hand down to the body because it was a much larger target than the head, and it left him less open to the counter because of the way he would utilize his right hand. And if you remember earlier in the video, I said that Joe Louis would save his right hand for clean, decisive punches to the head only when he saw the clear openings. Here you see Joe Louis catch Ramage with a clean right hand and knock him down. And this was actually one of the very few right hands he actually threw to the head in the entire fight. And down he goes, off a beautiful right hand. See, by breaking his opponents down to the body with the right hand, most of them are taken by surprise when he then lands the same straight right hand to the head. The punches you do not see or you do not expect will always do the most damage.
Down he goes with a solid left hook. And watch the towel come flying into the ring. There it is. The fight's over. Joe Louis has KO'd Ramage.
Please make sure you click the red button to subscribe to my channel if you already haven't. Then check out some of my previous videos, or you could check out one of my more popular videos right now. Or you could do absolutely nothing and go out to the outro music.